Sarah Chen walked through the sliding doors of Research Station Alpha 7, her boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. The long day shift in the xenobiology lab had tired her more than usual. 3 different alien species had visited today for health checks, and each one needed special care. The Mantillians needed low light because bright lights hurt their large eyes. The rock-like Gorvani needed extra warm rooms. The bird-like Kithara needed special air filters. Sarah loved her job as the station's human doctor, but sometimes she wished for simple human patience. At least humans did not need special atmospheric conditions or worry about gravity being too strong. She reached the living quarters section and pressed her palm to the door scanner. The metal door slid open with a quiet hiss. Sarah expected to find her roommate Kessara in the main room, probably working on one of her detailed engineering projects. The Zephyrian was always building something small and perfect, but the main room was empty. Sarah heard a strange sound from the direction of her private quarters. It was not quite a gasp, not quite a whistle. She knew that sound. Kessara made it when something shocked or scared her. "Kessara," Sarah called out. "Is everything okay?" No answer came back. Sarah walked toward her room, worry growing in her chest. Had something broken? Was her roommate hurt? The Zephyrians were delicate creatures. Their bones were thin like bird bones. Their skin was soft and easily damaged. Even small accidents could hurt them badly. Sarah reached her doorway and stopped. There was Kessara, standing perfectly still like a statue. The alien's 6 arms hung at her sides. Her large, dark eyes stared straight ahead. The color patches on her neck and shoulders flashed bright red and orange patterns. Sarah had lived with Kessara for 8 months now. She knew those colors meant danger and fear. "Kessara, what's wrong?" Sarah stepped closer. The Zephyrian's head turned slowly toward Sarah. Her mouth opened and closed several times before words came out. "Sarah, what is this place?" Sarah looked past her roommate into her own room. She saw what Kessara was staring at. The corner that Sarah used as her workshop looked different when seen through alien eyes. Heavy metal tools hung on the wall. A large hammer with a wooden handle, smaller hammers of different sizes, long metal tongs for grabbing hot things, sharp chisels for cutting and shaping. A portable forge unit sat on a strong table, black with use. Next to it, pieces of metal waited to be shaped into useful things. On the other side of the corner, Sarah's exercise equipment filled the space. Metal bars loaded with heavy weight plates, a bench for lifting, resistance bands hanging from hooks, a pull-up bar mounted between 2 walls. Some of the metal tools had dark stains on them, old rust mixed with small drops of blood from when Sarah had cut herself while learning. To human eyes, it looked like a normal hobby workshop. To alien eyes, it probably looked like something much worse. "Oh," Sarah said, understanding the problem. "This is my workshop and exercise area. I should have warned you about it." Kessara's color patches flashed brighter red. "Workshop? Exercise?" Her voice rose higher with each word. These are torture devices." Sarah blinked in surprise. "Torture devices? No, these are just tools. I use them to make things and to stay strong." "Make things?" Kessara's translator device made crackling sounds as it struggled with her rapid, high-pitched words. "You use these barbaric implements to make things?" "Sarah, this hammer weighs more than my entire arm. This metal bar has enough weight attached to crush 3 of my people." Sarah looked at her equipment again, trying to see it through Kessara's eyes. The hammer did look big and dangerous. The barbells were loaded with 200 pounds of weight plates. For someone whose whole body weighed maybe 60 pounds, it must look impossible and terrifying. "Kessara, please calm down. I can explain everything." But the Zephyrian was backing away from the doorway, her 6 arms raised in front of her as if to protect herself. "And this blood?" Sarah, there is blood on these metal things. Have you been hurting yourself with these weapons? They're not weapons, Sarah said quickly. Look, I know it seems strange, but... Strange? Kesara's voice went so high that her translator gave up and started beeping error sounds. She switched to hand signals, her 6 arms moving in quick, worried patterns. Sarah had learned some basic Zephyrian sign language, enough to understand. The message, "Danger! Help! Not safe! Kesara, wait!" Sarah reached out toward her roommate, but the alien moved away faster. "Do not touch me! You are not well, Sarah! No healthy being would surround themselves with such dangerous tools. No sane creature would voluntarily cause themselves to bleed." Sarah stopped trying to follow her roommate. She could see that Kesara was truly afraid. The color patches on the alien's skin had gone from red to deep purple, which meant terror in Zephyrian body language. "I need to call for medical help," Kesara said, her translator working again as she calmed down slightly. "You are sick, Sarah. These are not normal human behaviors. I have studied human culture files. Nowhere did they mention that humans create personal torture chambers." "It's not a torture chamber." Sarah felt frustrated now. How could she explain something so normal to someone who saw it as horrifying? "Humans exercise to stay healthy. We lift heavy things to make our muscles stronger. We work with tools to create useful objects. This is normal for us." But Kesara was already moving toward the communication panel in the main room. "I must report this to the medical department. You need help, Sarah. These behaviors indicate severe psychological problems or possibly unknown physical disease." Sarah watched her roommate's thin fingers dance over the communication controls. In a few minutes, the whole medical staff would know about her dangerous behavior. They would want to study her, maybe even send her back to Earth for treatment, all because she liked to exercise and enjoyed making small metal sculptures in her free time. "Kesara, please listen to me first," Sarah said, trying to keep her voice calm and friendly. "Let me show you what these tools really do. Let me explain how humans work." The Zephyrian paused at the communication panel. She looked back at Sarah with her large, dark eyes. "You wish to demonstrate these torture devices? They're not torture devices. They're just normal human equipment." Kesara's color patches shifted to yellow and green, confusion and curiosity. "Normal? You consider it normal to surround yourself with objects designed to cause pain and injury?" Sarah realized that this conversation was going to take much longer than she had expected. The gap between human and Zephyrian understanding was bigger than she had ever imagined. "Yes," Sarah said simply. "For humans, this is completely normal." Sarah held up both hands in a peaceful gesture. "Kesara, please wait. Before you call medical, let me show you something simple, something that won't scare you." The Zephyrian's finger hovered over the emergency medical button. Her color patches still flashed warning colors, but the yellow of curiosity was growing stronger. "Show me what?" "Just watch," Sarah said. She walked slowly back to her room, making sure Kesara could see everything she did. She picked up one of the smaller weights from the floor. It was only 20 pounds, but she could see Kesara's eyes grow wider. "Sarah, that metal object is dangerous. Put it down." "It's not dangerous if you know how to use it." Sarah held the weight in her right hand. She bent her arm at the elbow, lifting the weight toward her shoulder, then lowered it again. She repeated the movement 10 times, slow and controlled. Kesara watched in complete silence. Her color patches shifted from red to purple to yellow and back to red again. When Sarah finished, the alien made a soft whistling sound. What did you just do?" Kesara asked. "I exercised my arm muscle. This movement makes my arm stronger over time." Sarah set the weight down carefully. "All humans do things like this." "All humans?" Kesara's voice squeaked. "You mean every member of your species voluntarily lifts heavy objects that could crush them?" Well, not everyone exercises, but most healthy humans do some kind of physical activity. We run, we swim, we lift weights, we climb things. Our bodies are built for it. Kesara sat down heavily in the nearest chair, her 6 arms wrapped around herself in what Sarah recognized as a comfort position. This makes no sense. Physical. Stress is harmful. It damages tissue. It wastes energy. Why would any intelligent species choose to damage themselves? Sarah sat down across from her roommate, thinking about how to explain something that seemed obvious to humans. Because the damage makes us stronger. When we stress our muscles, they grow back bigger and stronger than before. When we run, our hearts become more powerful. When we lift heavy things, our bones become more dense. That is impossible, Kesara said flatly. Damaged tissue becomes weaker, not stronger. This is basic biology. Not for humans. Our bodies work differently. Than yours. Sarah paused, realizing how little she actually knew about Zephyrian biology. How do your people stay healthy? What do you do for fitness? Fitness? Kesara looked confused. We maintain optimal nutrition and avoid any unnecessary physical stress. Our medical systems keep our bodies functioning at peak efficiency. We would never deliberately damage ourselves. The communication panel made a soft chiming sound. Kesara had accidentally activated the medical request before sitting down. Sarah heard the familiar mechanical voice of Medical Droid Unit 7. Medical. Assistance requested in living quarters, Section C-12. Please state the nature of the emergency. Kesara looked at Sarah, her color patches showing uncertainty. Sarah nodded. Go ahead. Let's get this sorted out properly. We need a medical evaluation. Kesara spoke to the panel. My roommate may be suffering from unknown psychological or physical problems. She is engaging in dangerous self-harm behaviors. Acknowledged. Medical Droid Unit 7 will arrive in 3 minutes. While they waited, Sarah tried to explain more. About human exercise. Kesara, imagine if I told you that Zephyrians could become smarter by deliberately confusing themselves. Would that make sense to you? Of course not. Confusion damages cognitive function. But humans actually do something like that. We challenge our brains with difficult problems, puzzles, and complex learning. The struggle makes our minds stronger. Physical exercise works the same way for our bodies. Kesara's head tilted to one side, a sign she was thinking hard. You are saying that humans have evolved to benefit from stress and damage? Exactly. We call it adaptation. Our bodies expect challenges. Without them, we actually become weaker and sick. The door chimed, and Medical Droid Unit 7 rolled into the room. The robot was painted white with blue medical symbols. Its sensors immediately focused on Sarah. I am detecting one human female, age 28, in apparent good health, the droid announced. Please describe the medical concern. Kesara pointed toward Sarah's room. She has surrounded herself with dangerous tools and heavy objects. She uses them to deliberately injure herself. She claims this is normal human behavior. The medical droid's head rotated toward the room, sensors scanning. I detect exercise equipment and metalworking tools. These are consistent with normal, human recreational activities. Normal? Kesara's color patches flashed bright orange. Did you say normal? Affirmative. Human beings require regular physical stress to maintain optimal health. The equipment observed falls within standard parameters for human fitness activities. The droid rolled closer to Sarah and extended a scanning arm. Blue light played over her body for 30 seconds. Human subject shows muscle development consistent with regular exercise. Bone density is optimal. Cardiovascular function is excellent. Minor healing injuries on hands are consistent with metalworking activities. No signs of psychological distress or physical abuse detected. Kesara stood up so quickly that she knocked over her chair. That cannot be correct. Run the scan again. Scan. Complete and accurate. This human specimen shows signs of exceptional physical conditioning. Muscle density is 40% above average human baseline. Bone strength is 35% above average. This individual is impossibly robust by galactic standards, yet falls within normal human parameters. Impossibly robust? Sarah asked. What does that mean? The medical droid's head turned toward her. Compared to other sapient species in the galactic database, human physical capabilities are considered extreme. Your bone density alone would crush most species under their own weight. Your muscle strength exceeds that of species twice your size. Sarah had never thought of herself as particularly strong. She exercised regularly, but considered herself average among humans. I'm just a normal person who works out. There is no such thing as a normal human by galactic standards, the droid replied. All humans are statistical anomalies. Kesara sat back down, looking overwhelmed. So, you are telling me that Sarah's dangerous behaviors are actually healthy for her species? Correct. Furthermore, without such activities, human health would deteriorate rapidly. Humans require physical stress to function properly. After the medical droid left, Kesara and Sarah sat in silence for several minutes. Finally, the Zephyrian spoke. I do not understand your species at all. What specifically confuses you? Sarah asked. Everything. You seek out pain and call it pleasure. You damage yourselves and become stronger. You surround yourselves with dangerous tools and call it recreation. How did such a species ever develop intelligence? Sarah laughed softly. Maybe because we had to be smart enough to survive being so reckless. That evening, Kesara made a communication call to her friend Veltar, a scholar at the Mantillion Research Institute. Sarah could hear only one side of the conversation, but Kesara's excited tone was clear. Veltar, you must document this immediately. The humans are not what we thought they were. My roommate has revealed capabilities that contradict everything in our xenobiology textbooks. Yes, I am completely serious. No, she is not sick or damaged. The medical systems confirm this is normal for her species. Sarah had a feeling that her simple hobby was about to become much more complicated. The next morning, Sarah arrived at the medical lab to find 3 alien colleagues waiting for her. Dr. Vormek, a tall Mantillion with large compound eyes, stood next to Commander Thix, a rock-like Gorvani military officer. Behind them, Dr. Yila fluttered her feathered wings nervously. The bird-like Kithara rarely left her atmospheric-controlled lab. Dr. Chen, Commander Thix said in his deep, rumbling voice, we need to speak with you about yesterday's medical report. Sarah set down her data pad. What about it? Dr. Vormek stepped forward, his 4 arms holding different scanning devices. The medical droid's analysis has raised questions. We would like to observe your recreational activities for scientific purposes. You want to watch me exercise? Sarah asked. We want to understand how a sapient species can voluntarily engage in self-destructive behavior and benefit from it, Dr. Yila chirped, her translator making her voice sound musical. This challenges everything we know about evolutionary biology. Word had spread quickly through the research station. By afternoon, 12 different alien researchers had requested permission to observe Sarah's anomalous physical capabilities. Station Commander Rel Ak, a wise old Zephyrian, finally organized an official demonstration. Dr. Chen, Commander Rel Ak said during the briefing, this observation will be purely voluntary. However, the scientific value could be enormous. We are discovering that human capabilities have been severely underestimated in all our databases. Sarah looked around the briefing room. Representatives from 6 different species sat at the curved table. All of them watched her with the careful attention usually reserved for dangerous specimens. I feel like I'm being treated like an exotic animal, Sarah said. Not exotic, Dr. Vormek corrected. Impossible. According to our understanding of physics and biology, humans should not exist. 2 hours later, Sarah stood in Cargo Bay 3, which had been converted into an observation area. The alien sat behind a transparent protective barrier that could stop projectiles traveling at high speed. Sarah had moved her equipment into the center of the bay. "Are you sure you need that much protection?" Sarah asked, looking at the barrier. "Standard. Safety protocol," Commander Thix rumbled. "We do not know what to expect." Kesara sat in the front row, her color patches showing nervous excitement. "Please be careful, Sarah. I know this is normal for you, but it still frightens me." Sarah decided to start with something simple. She picked up her smallest hammer, a tool that weighed about 2 pounds. Several aliens made worried sounds. "This is a metalworking hammer," Sarah explained. "I use it to shape heated metal into useful objects." She turned on the portable forge. The unit heated quickly, glowing red-orange within minutes. The temperature reached 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Behind the barrier, Dr. Yila made a high-pitched alarm sound. "The thermal output could kill most species instantly," Dr. Vormek observed, his sensors recording everything. "How does she tolerate being so close?" "To it?" Sarah put a small piece of steel into the forge, waiting for it to heat up. "Humans can work near high temperatures if we're careful. Our skin can handle brief exposure to extreme heat." When the metal glowed orange hot, Sarah pulled it out with her tongs and placed it on the anvil. She raised the hammer and began striking. The metal with controlled hits. Each blow sent sparks flying. The sound of metal on metal rang through the cargo bay. The aliens watched in complete silence. With each hammer strike, the hot metal changed shape. Within 10 minutes, Sarah had created a simple hook for hanging tools. "Impossible," whispered Dr. Vormek. "The timing required, the precision, the physical strength needed to shape metal. At that temperature, that's nothing," Sarah said, dunking the finished hook into water. Steam rose as the metal cooled. "Want to see me make something more complex?" "No!" several aliens said at once. "We need time to process what we have already observed," Commander Relak said diplomatically. Sarah moved to her exercise equipment. "Okay, let's try this instead." She loaded her barbell with 200 pounds of weight plates. The total weight would crush any of the observers, but Sarah lifted it easily. She performed 10 deadlifts, her muscles working smoothly. Dr. Yila fainted. Commander Thix caught her before she hit the floor. "The structural stress on her skeleton should cause immediate fractures," Dr. Vormek said, his sensors working frantically. "Yet she shows no signs of distress." Sarah moved to the pull-up bar and performed 20 pull-ups. Then she did 50 push-ups. Then she ran in place for 5 minutes while carrying the 20-pound weight. When she finished, she was breathing. Harder, but still looked comfortable. "That's just a light warm-up. I usually exercise for an hour." Behind the barrier, the alien observers sat in shocked silence. Finally, Dr. Vormek spoke. "We have completely misunderstood human evolution," he said slowly. "Every species in the galaxy followed the same pattern. As intelligence increased, physical capabilities decreased. The brain requires enormous energy, so the body becomes smaller and weaker to compensate. But humans did not follow that pattern," Commander Relak observed. "No. Humans somehow maintained extreme physical capabilities while developing advanced intelligence. They are the only species to successfully combine both paths of evolution." Dr. Yila had recovered and was taking rapid notes. "This explains the historical reports we dismissed as exaggerated. Human military capabilities, survival rates in hostile environments, manual labor efficiency. We thought the data was wrong." "The data was accurate," Commander Thix said grimly. "We simply could not believe that such a species was possible." Sarah felt uncomfortable with the intense scientific attention. "Look, I'm just a normal human. I'm not even particularly strong by human standards." "Not particularly strong?" Dr. Vormek's compound eyes focused on her. "Dr. Chen, you just demonstrated capabilities that exceed our heavy-lifting robots. If you are normal, what are your warriors capable of?" Before Sarah could answer, the cargo bay's communication system activated. A priority signal from the Galactic Defense Council appeared on the main screen. Research Station Alpha 7, this is. Emergency Coordinator Zexani. We have a crisis situation in the Kepler 442 system. Mining Colony 7 has suffered catastrophic equipment failure. 300 colonists are trapped underground. The image showed a desperate scene. Rescue ships surrounded a planet while emergency teams worked frantically on the surface. All conventional rescue attempts have failed. Coordinator Zexani continued. The tunnel system is too unstable for our standard equipment. Robotic units keep failing in the harsh conditions. We need alternative solutions immediately. Commander Relak activated the response system. This is Research Station Alpha 7. We are standing by for orders. We need consultation on unconventional rescue methods. Someone suggested that human capabilities might be relevant to this crisis. Do you have any human personnel available? All eyes in the cargo bay turned to Sarah. She looked at the disaster footage, seeing the desperate faces of rescue workers who had run out of options. Commander, Sarah said, I volunteer. Dr. Vormek stood up quickly, his sensors still focused on her. Dr. Chen, if our observations today are accurate, you might actually be capable of rescue operations that are impossible for the rest of us. What do you mean? Sarah asked. Manual excavation in unstable conditions, physical endurance in hostile environments, problem-solving without relying on delicate technology. Commander Thix's voice carried new respect. Things that would kill us might be merely difficult for humans. Sarah looked at the screen showing trapped colonists. Then we need to try. Coordinator Zexani's voice came through the communicator again. Research Station Alpha 7, please respond. Time is running out. Commander Relak activated the transmitter. Coordinator Zexani, we have a human volunteer ready for immediate deployment. A human? The coordinator sounded surprised. Are you certain they can handle this type of emergency? Sarah stepped forward. Sir, after what I've learned today about human capabilities, I think I might be exactly what you need. The emergency transport ship Swift Current reached Kepler 442 system in 18 hours. Sarah sat in the passenger compartment, reviewing the disaster reports on her datapad. Mining Colony 7 was built deep underground to protect workers from the planet's dangerous surface storms. When the main support systems failed, 300 colonists from 12 different species became trapped behind collapsed tunnels. Captain Mordes, an experienced Zephyrian pilot, looked worried as he read the latest updates. Dr. Chen, the situation is getting worse. Oxygen levels in the trapped sections are dropping. The rescue teams estimate 36 hours before life. Support fails completely. Sarah studied the tunnel maps. The collapsed area was a maze of narrow passages, unstable rock, and damaged support beams. Heavy rescue equipment couldn't fit through the tight spaces. Light robotic units kept breaking down in the harsh conditions. What exactly have they tried so far? Sarah asked. Everything in the standard emergency protocols, Captain Mordes replied. Laser cutting units failed because the rock composition is too dense. Sonic excavators caused more collapses. Remote drones lost power or suffered mechanical failures within hours. Sarah nodded. The rescue teams were using advanced technology, but sometimes the simplest approach worked better than complex machines. The transport ship entered orbit around the planet. Through the viewport, Sarah could see the brown and gray surface scarred by massive storms. Mining Colony 7 was built 3 miles underground to escape the violent weather. Landing at emergency. Base camp in 10 minutes, Captain Mordes announced. Emergency base camp buzzed with activity. Rescue ships from 6 different worlds crowded the landing area. Teams of specialists worked around the clock, but Sarah could see the frustration on every face. Despite all their advanced equipment, the colonists remained trapped. Rescue Coordinator Vexatal, a tall Mantilian with 4 arms, met Sarah at the transport ship. His compound eyes showed stress and exhaustion. Dr. Chen, I appreciate you coming, But I must be honest. I do not understand how one human can succeed where our entire operation has failed. Sarah looked around the base camp. Hundreds of rescue workers operated sophisticated equipment worth millions of credits. Coordinator Vexital, sometimes the problem isn't that we need better technology. Sometimes we need a different approach entirely. What do you mean? Your equipment is designed for controlled conditions. When something goes wrong, the machines can't adapt. But humans can work in chaos. We can make decisions when situations change quickly. Coordinator Vexital led Sarah to the command center, a large tent filled with screens and communication equipment. The main display showed a three-dimensional map of the collapsed tunnel system. The trapped colonists are here. Vexital pointed to a red section deep underground. They have basic life support, but it will not last much longer. The only access route is through this unstable passage. Sarah studied the map carefully. The tunnel was narrow, twisted, and partially blocked with debris. Any vibration could cause more collapses. "Have you tried manual excavation?" Sarah asked. Chief Engineer Corlan, a rock-like Gorvani, made a harsh laughing sound. "Manual excavation? Dr. Chen, this is not ancient history. We use precision tools and automated systems." "What happens when your precision tools break down in unstable conditions?" "We repair them or send in better equipment. And when better equipment also fails?" Chief Engineer Corlan had no answer. Sarah looked at the assembled rescue leaders. "I need a small team of volunteers and some basic equipment. No complex electronics, no delicate machinery. Just simple tools that can't break down." "What kind of tools?" Coordinator Vexital asked. "Shovels, hand-powered drills, rope, manual lifting equipment, emergency lights that use chemical power instead of electronics." The rescue leaders looked at each other with concern. Dr. Hillnex, the medical coordinator, spoke up. "Dr. Chen, that approach would take weeks. The colonists don't have weeks." "It will take weeks if you use normal workers," Sarah agreed. "But I'm not a normal worker by galactic standards." "What are you suggesting?" Coordinator Vexital asked. "Give me 8 hours. If I can't make significant progress in 8 hours using manual methods, we'll go back to your technological solutions." After much discussion, the rescue leaders agreed to try Sarah's approach. They gathered the simple tools she requested. Most of the equipment came from the base camp's emergency backup supplies, tools that were considered primitive by galactic standards. Sarah selected 2 volunteers to help her, Medic Yelnora, a brave Cathara who was small enough to fit through tight spaces, and Engineer Daxol, a young Zephyrian who understood structural support systems. The 3 of them descended into the mine shaft using a basic elevator platform. As they went deeper underground, the advanced rescue equipment became more scarce. The failed robotic units lay abandoned in the tunnels, their delicate circuits, damaged by heat and dust. "The air is getting thicker," Medic Yelnora observed, checking her breathing apparatus. "And hotter," Engineer Daxol added. "My species cannot handle these conditions for long." Sarah tested the air with a simple chemical detector. "It's still breathable for humans. You 2 can return to the surface if it gets too dangerous." They reached the collapse zone after an hour of careful climbing. The tunnel ahead was blocked by tons of rock and twisted metal support beams. The debris pile stretched from floor to ceiling. "This is impossible," Engineer Daxol whispered. "Even with heavy machinery, clearing this would take days." Sarah examined the collapse more closely. She could see small gaps between the rocks where air was flowing through. "The colonists are definitely alive on the other side. I can hear voices." She picked up a shovel and began digging into the debris pile. The work was slow and dangerous. Every rock she moved could trigger another collapse. But Sarah had spent years building physical strength, and she understood how to work safely in unstable conditions. After 2 hours, Sarah had cleared a passage, just wide enough for a person to crawl through. Engineer Daxol watched in amazement as she moved rocks that should have required mechanical assistance. "How are you doing this?" he asked. "Those stones weigh more than my entire body." "Practice," Sarah said simply, "and human bone density." She was about to crawl into the passage when the tunnel shook violently. A secondary collapse sent tons of new debris crashing down. The entrance to Sarah's passage disappeared under falling rocks. "Sarah!" Medic Yelnora cried out, but Sarah was nowhere to be seen. The collapse had sealed her inside the unstable tunnel system. Engineer Daxol activated his emergency communicator. "Base camp, this is Tunnel Team. We have a problem. Dr. Chen is trapped inside the collapse zone." Coordinator Vextal's voice crackled through the communicator. "Can you reach her?" "Negative. The entire section has collapsed. We cannot see or hear her." "Stand by. We're sending down rescue equipment." Medic Yelnora and Engineer Daxol waited at the collapse site for 6 hours. Rescue teams tried every method to locate Sarah, but their sensors detected nothing. The rock was too dense, and any attempt to dig could cause more collapses. "Dr. Chen has been missing for 6 hours, Coordinator Vextal announced to the base camp. "All attempts to locate her have failed. We must assume the worst." But deep underground, where no sensors could reach, Sarah was still working. The collapse had not trapped her. Instead, it had opened a new route through the unstable rock. She continued digging through the darkness, following the sound of voices from the trapped colonists. Sarah had disappeared into conditions that would kill most galactic species within minutes. But for a human with determination and the right tools, it was just another day at work. Above ground, the rescue teams prepared to admit failure. Below ground, Sarah was about to prove that sometimes the oldest methods worked better than the newest technology. Sarah crawled through the narrow tunnel she had carved from collapsed rock and twisted metal. Her clothes were torn, her hands were bleeding from cuts, and her breathing was heavy from 6 hours of continuous digging. But she could hear voices, getting louder ahead of her. The chemical light sticks she carried gave off a weak green glow. Advanced electronic lights would have failed hours ago in the heat and dust, but these simple tools kept working. Sarah had learned long ago that sometimes the oldest technology was the most reliable. She reached the end of her tunnel and found herself looking into a large chamber. 30 colonists from different species sat huddled together, sharing their remaining air supply. When Sarah's light appeared, they looked up with hope and fear. "Is someone there?" called out Dr. Mixtar, a Mantillian geologist who led the trapped group. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen from Research Station Alpha 7, Sarah said, her voice echoing in the chamber. "I'm here to get you out." The colonists made excited sounds in several different languages. Dr. Mixtar moved closer to Sarah's tunnel entrance. "Dr. Chen, how did you reach us? All the rescue attempts failed." "I dug," Sarah said simply. "You dug? Through solid rock?" "Through collapsed rock, mostly. Some of it was solid." Sarah examined the chamber. "How many people are in here?" 30 in this section. But there are other groups deeper in the mine. Maybe 270, more people in total. Sarah nodded. "Okay. I'm going to widen this tunnel so you can escape. Then we'll work on reaching the others." For the next 4 hours, Sarah worked to expand her rescue tunnel. The 30 colonists helped as much as they could, but most species lacked the physical strength to move heavy rocks. Sarah did most of the dangerous work herself, carefully removing debris without causing new collapses. Dr. Mixtar watched Sarah work with growing amazement. "How long can humans maintain this level of physical activity?" "I'm not sure," Sarah said, pausing to rest for 2 minutes. "I've been working for 10 hours straight now. I'm getting tired, but I can keep going." 10 hours? Without stopping? Dr. Mixtar's 4 arms trembled. "That is impossible. No species can work continuously for 10 hours in these conditions." Humans are built for endurance, Sarah explained. Our ancestors had to chase animals for days across open plains. We can keep going long after other species would collapse. When the tunnel was wide enough, Sarah helped the 30 colonists crawl to safety. It took 3 hours to get everyone out, since many species could not move quickly through tight spaces. But finally, all 30 survivors reached the main tunnel where rescue teams waited. Coordinator Vextal was amazed when Sarah emerged with the first group of rescued colonists. "Dr. Chen, we thought you were dead. How did you survive the collapse?" "The collapse opened a new route," Sarah said. "But we're not finished. There are still 270 people trapped in deeper sections." "You cannot continue," Chief Medical Officer Hillnex insisted, scanning Sarah with medical equipment. "You have been working for 14 hours in impossible conditions. You need rest, food, and medical treatment." Sarah looked at the medical readings. Her heart rate was elevated, she was dehydrated, and she had numerous small injuries. But her body was still functioning normally. "I can work for several more hours," she said. "Those people don't have time to wait while I rest." The rescue coordinators held an emergency meeting. They had watched Sarah accomplish something that their best technology could not do, but they were concerned about pushing one person beyond safe limits. "Dr. Chen," Coordinator Vextal said, "we are calling for additional human volunteers. Earth has agreed to send emergency teams." "How long will that take?" 6 hours for the fastest ships to arrive." Sarah shook her head. "The people trapped in the deepest sections won't survive 6 more hours. I have to keep working." Against medical advice, Sarah returned to the tunnels. This time, she brought better equipment and a team of the strongest volunteers from different species. Working together, they made faster progress. Over the next 18 hours, Sarah led 4 separate rescue operations. Each mission required digging through dangerous debris, crawling through unstable tunnels, and physically carrying injured colonists to safety. The volunteer teams helped, but Sarah did the most dangerous work because she was the only one strong enough and durable enough to handle the worst conditions. When the human emergency teams finally arrived from Earth, they found Sarah emerging from the mine with the last group of survivors. She had been working for 32 hours with only brief rest periods. All 300 colonists had been rescued alive. Captain Torres, leader of the Earth Rescue Team, met Sarah at the mine entrance. "Dr. Chen, I've read the reports about what you accomplished here. Are they accurate?" "Probably," Sarah said, sitting down heavily on a supply crate. "I'm too tired to remember exactly what happened." "You single-handedly rescued 300 people using manual excavation methods?" "Not single-handedly. I had help from volunteers." Captain Torres looked at the rescued colonists, many of whom were still praising Sarah's efforts. "Dr. Chen, this rescue operation is going to change how the galaxy sees humanity." The news of Sarah's rescue spread across the galactic communication networks within days. The story became famous. One human with simple tools had succeeded where the most advanced rescue technology had failed. At Research Station Alpha 7, Kesara waited anxiously for Sarah's return. When the transport ship finally arrived, Kesara was the first person to greet her roommate. "Sarah, I was so worried about you." Kesara's color patches showed relief and joy. "The entire galaxy has heard about your rescue mission." Sarah hugged her roommate carefully, remembering how delicate Zephyrians were. "I just did what needed to be done." "No, you did something impossible. The rescue coordinators are calling it the greatest individual rescue operation in galactic history." Over the following weeks, requests poured into Research Station Alpha 7. Different planets wanted human consultants for impossible problems. Mining operations wanted humans to work in dangerous conditions where machines failed. Exploration. Teams wanted humans for missions to hostile environments. Dr. Vormek, the Mantilian scientist, published a research paper titled Human Capabilities, a complete revision of xenobiology assumptions. His conclusions shocked the scientific community. Humans represent a unique evolutionary path, Dr. Vormek explained during a galactic conference. Every other intelligent species sacrificed physical capabilities to develop advanced brains. Humans somehow kept both. They are the only species capable of solving problems through pure determination and physical endurance. Sarah found herself invited to speak at universities across the galaxy. Her simple message was always the same. Humans don't see limitations as permanent barriers. We see them as problems to solve. Back in their shared quarters, Kesara asked Sarah to teach her some basic metalworking techniques, not because she could physically handle the tools, but because she wanted to understand the human approach to challenges. "Show me how you think about difficult problems," Kesara requested. Sarah picked up a small hammer and a piece of soft metal. When humans see something that seems impossible, we don't accept that it's impossible. We ask, what would it take to make this possible? And then we try. We fail. We try again. We fail better. We keep trying until we succeed or until we find a different approach that works. Kesara watched Sarah gently shape the metal with careful hammer taps. "Your species never gives up." "Giving up is not in our nature," Sarah agreed. "Humans are stubborn that way." 3 months later, the Galactic Council officially recognized humans as essential personnel for crisis situations. When conventional solutions failed, when advanced technology was not enough, when problems required endurance and determination instead of sophistication, the galaxy now called humans. Sarah continued her work as a doctor at Research Station Alpha 7. But she also became the galaxy's unofficial expert on impossible rescue operations. Her equipment corner, which had once frightened Kesara, became a symbol of human capability and determination. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Sometimes the most advanced solution was not the most effective solution. Sometimes you needed beings who were willing to pick up simple tools and work until the job was done, no matter how long it took. And humans, as it turned out, were very good at getting impossible jobs done.